Hello, my name is Minda King, and welcome to my presentation on assistive technology. Let's hop right on in. What is assistive technology? One of my sources gives a very good definition. Assistive technology devices are identified in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, 2004 as any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified, or customized, that is used to increase, maintain, or improve the functional capabilities of children with disabilities. As defined in IDEA, an assistive technology service is any service that directly assists a child with a disability in the selection, acquisition, and use of an assistive technology device. Assistive technology can be broken down into many different types or categories. So first up, you can start with something that's no tech, so devices, procedures, or other changes to the environment that do not require a special device or equipment. So things like a pencil grip, extra time on test, or the use of read aloud, an interpreter, or a scribe. Then you have low tech, so simple devices that do not require a power source but might need minimum training to be used. So things like adaptive pens, a cane, Velcro fasteners, magnifying glasses. Mid-tech, which is a little more complicated devices that could require a power source but are usually not a sophisticated electronic system. So these devices are more likely to require some training or knowledge. So a manual wheelchair, adaptive keyboards, and mice. High-tech are devices that incorporate computer-based systems with sophisticated electronics. So these devices could require significant training, knowledge, and technical support. These devices can also be expensive. So we're talking speech recognition software, power wheelchairs, eye gaze controlled computers, and tablets with communication software. I know that the self-contained classes that I've worked with before in the past, several students do have some sort of specialized tablet with communication software on it. So imagine a tablet with an app where you press a picture and it speaks for you. That is sort of like what we're talking about with a little more on the high-tech side of devices. Laws for assistive technology. So I'm going to try to go chronologically. Education for All Handicapped Children's Act from 1975 gives all students the right to a free and appropriate education. It gives rights to parents of students and students with disabilities. In 1990, the law was renamed to Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. IDEA is periodically revised. IDEA contains about 42 rights for assistive technology. Students with disabilities being educated in a state school system and other public agencies must be allowed access to assistive technology devices and services. Then we have Technology-Related Assistance for Individuals with Disabilities Act, so the TECH Act of 1988. This is the first piece of legislation to specifically address technology to assist those with disabilities. It establishes programs and grants to create assistance for AT. The TECH Act was amended in 1994, making some of these programs permanent. The Act was reauthorized in 1998 and expands access to AT. The Act was renamed the Assistive Technology Act and was reauthorized in 2004. Then we get to the more society-based laws. So we've got the Americans with Disability Act, ADA, from 1990, which provides protection for those with disabilities. This act allows people with disabilities to more equally participate in society. In 2008, it was amended to add more information to the definition of disabled. ADA defines various areas of accessibility, including websites. Then we've got the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act, or CVAA, and it was signed into law in 2010. This required TV programs to have captions, even online. And then in 2012, there was a lawsuit which required Netflix to have closed captions, which is a huge deal. So now we've moved into the website and streaming services, and so these laws are getting more relevant to us as society progresses. Assistive technology in education. The use of assistive technology in the classroom with students with disabilities has the potential to increase learning and academic performance. So accommodations like assistive technology can help students with disabilities interact more successfully with their non-disabled peers and with the general education curriculum. The ability to integrate technology into instruction can change how learning is done. If teachers integrate assistive technology with instructional technology, it will help students with complex needs have a better chance of acquiring various educational skills. So what I'm talking about is we've hit the point where most schools are one-to-one devices. So teachers have access to things like Canva and Wakelet and all these online programs. So if they are able to take those programs and incorporate accessibility like text-to-speech or fonts or highlighting, things like that, that can be considered assistive technology for students with disabilities, that really changes the ability these students have to interact with the curriculum. It's also important to look at the process of an individual education plan, so an IEP. For students with disabilities to receive various services that they need, these students will need to be evaluated and have a individual education plan or IEP in place. The evaluation part will identify the type of disability and the level of the severity of the disability. This actually comes from IDEA, which we've already kind of talked about, which requires public schools to create an individual education plan to provide these students with disabilities access to things like their least restrictive environment, so LRE. And it promises them that free, appropriate public education. Then we have accommodations. So accommodations are addressed in every student that has an IEP, their IEP paperwork. And it must be agreed upon by the IEP team. Parents must advocate for their students' needs with things like assistive technology. So as a special ed teacher, I see this all the time. And I've written multiple IEPs. There are 2 places specifically that talk about assistive technology in an IEP. One is on the profile page, which specifically asks if this student has any kind of assistive technology needs. It's like a yes or no question. Then later on in the IEP, there's what's called a services page, which lists out everything that this student would need. So things like inclusion services, speech, occupational therapy, all those sort of services. But there's also a part on there that talks about assistive technology, where you have to specifically list the devices, who's in charge of them, what is it for, all of those sort of details that will be needed for that student to be successful with their services. Assistive technology in society. Assistive technology looks a little different in society than in a public school. In society, those needing assistive technology can be a wide variety of people. It can be the elderly, somebody with a disability, or someone with a health issue. Health issues can be mental or a physical issue. Without assistive technology, people often are excluded, isolated, and locked into poverty. So this increases the impact of decreased function and disability on individuals, their family, and society. So ADA allows for accommodations in the workforce and in public services. People with disabilities are also protected from retaliation if they file an ADA-related complaint. Then, on top of that, the AVAA requires that TV programs to have captions, allowing those that are hard of hearing or deaf to be able to enjoy television. Many TV programs also offer audio descriptions for those that are blind. Cell phones and other devices offer accessibility settings. iPhone's accessibility settings are broken down into categories, including vision, physical and motor, hearing, and general. These settings allow for use of common devices that are used daily for people to participate in society. I have personal experience with the use of some of these devices. As a person with permanent hearing loss, I do have significant hearing loss, which makes it difficult at times for me to hear things like the TV. I have learned to adapt over the years, which has helped, but things like being able to read subtitles means that I don't have to turn up the TV so loud to be able to hear. It got a little weird when I was a kid and subtitles were not a thing, so everybody else could hear what I was listening to because I had to turn the TV up so loud. The availability of subtitles significantly changed the way that I was able to function just in my home life as a child and now as an adult, versus not having those subtitles and it making things harder on my family. While it may not seem important, having these, even just a little accessibility, makes a significant change in a person's life. In summary, assistive technology is needed for those with disabilities to be able to function and participate in society. There are multiple laws currently in place to protect the rights of students and adults that rely on the use of assistive technology for function. Assistive technology is a needed service for students with disabilities in education and is protected by current laws. Studies have shown that students with disabilities have an increased chance of success when using assistive technology. If assistive technology is not allowed in society, the people that need it are more likely to be isolated and not able to participate in society with family and other individuals.